Man, this right here is groundbreaking.
Shut up, Mark.
Sisters, I appreciate you for this one. Let's go ahead and show them how Israel get down.
In the chariot, and you know that it got me. Feeling so good, that's all I need.
We got the family in place, y'all. Drinks getting poured, see the looks on our face, y'all. It's going up.
In the chariot, and you know that it got me. Feeling so good, that's all I need.
At the feast getting right. We waiting for the kingdom, but it's finna be a hell of a night, yeah.
Long week, so I pull up. A Brennan on my wrist when I show up. Fingers and my toes on buff. Take my time, listen up, so I'm late showing up. I throw my body on the floor. Wash got the ice, so mixing up. It's all love, cause it's all us. Color lights on, got me feeling glowed up. It's giving vibes tonight. Everybody's looking right. Bodies on the floor. It's going up, let's go. It's a family affair. On and on and on till the break of dawn. And then the kingdoms to come. It's a family affair. On and on and on till the break of dawn. And then the kingdom to come.
All the fam is there. Not everybody understands the way that we go up, the way that we show up. It's always good vibes. Kahanas on the grill, slapping bones until the table tilts. Spiritual conversation, I'm gaining wisdom, it's all good. We got the bishops in the house tonight. The kids are acting right. I can only imagine what it would be like when we get home.
It's giving vibes tonight. Everybody's looking right. Bodies on the floor. It's going up, let's go. It's a family affair. On and on and on till the break of dawn. And then the kingdoms to come. It's a family affair. On and on till the break of dawn. And then the kingdoms.
Shalom Israel. Welcome back to another edition of Stick to the Script Current Events. My name is Shamar, and to my left,
Shahada Month.
you know, the current events, aka Hebrew news. Like we always say, this isn't all the research that you should do. This isn't all that you should be aware of. But as the scripture says in Sirach, be not ignorant of a great matter or a small. So we try not to make these too time consuming. It's not going to be very long, but there are a few things in a number of different ways that we see the scriptures coming to life. We see prophecy being fulfilled. We see things that are developing, whether we can, you know, always see those signs. And I think that oftentimes that's what causes people's understandings or faith to kind of waver, because they don't have understanding for themselves. So, you know, we try to just bring to light some of the things that the scriptures say and really allow for that understanding to be like, this is the climate, this is what's happening, this is where it's headed, and these are things to be prepared for. Can you take us over to the PowerPoint? So the first thing is RSV surge in children's hospitals. So we already know pretty much every month that we do this, we're always talking about some type of infection, disease, virus, what have you. You know, COVID was huge for a long time, and it was used, you know, there were some serious numbers, there were some deaths, and I do believe that there was a lot of hype around it to also control the masses kind of thing. But, you know, then it went from COVID to then monkeypox was huge and all over the news, and that kind of has died down, at least as far as media coverage. And then now it's just the next thing that comes into the spotlight. Like, diseases are getting spotlights like celebrities. They come in, they get their 15 minutes of fame, and they disappear. But they're always something to be aware of, and something to know pretty much what is going on out in the world and how it might affect us. This one in particular is geared towards children. So it says, children's hospitals in parts of the U.S. are seeing a surge in uncommon respiratory illness that can cause severe breathing problems for babies. So this one specifically is more so geared towards very young children, infants, and it's another respiratory infection. We've seen a lot of these, right? COVID was respiratory. RSV is respiratory. Was there another one? Like a major one?
Not that I can remember.
It'd be so many of them.
Con.
But you see all these different things, right? And so many of them are affecting the lungs, affecting the way that we breathe, and this one more so affects children. You want to read on find the scripture real quick?
RSV cases fell dramatically 2 years ago as the pandemic shut down schools, daycares, and businesses. With restrictions easing in the summer of 2021, doctors saw an alarming increase in what is normally a fall and winter virus. Now it's back again, and doctors are bracing for the possibility that RSV, flu, and COVID-19 could combine to stress hospitals. I'm calling it an emergency, Dr. Juan Salazar of Connecticut Children's Hospital, where our RSV has caused a shuffling of patients into playrooms and other spaces not normally used for beds. The institution explored using a National Guard field hospital, but has set aside that option for now.
So it's huge, right? There's always like this, and one of the things that I really do believe, I try not to be biased in the way that like we put information forth. I just think that that's an aspect of journalism that should be exercised. But like, man, the way that these articles are always constructed is like they're meant to bred fear. I do believe that numbers speak loud. If there were hundreds of thousands of people getting sick, hospitals being overwhelmed, and things that we could see evolving or devolving. But the fact that they even mentioned, like, they're talking about a National Guard hospital, and literally a little bit below that, it says, what is RSV? So, you hear these terms, you hear about these diseases, these illnesses, what does that mean? It says it stands for respiratory, I should let you read this one. Syncytial virus. I hope I pronounced that right. A common sense of mild cold-like symptoms such as runny nose, cough, and fever. Nearly all U.S. children normally catch an RSV infection by age 2. So, yeah, there's like, it could combine, it could do this, it could do that, but is it doing any of those things? I do believe that a lot of things are fear. I do believe that a lot of things get pushed so that we trust more so in Esau. They did the same thing with COVID. Put out all these numbers, put out all this fear. We got the solution. All you have to do is take this vaccine. It's like Esau is literally trying to put himself in the position of the Most High. I'll be your God. I'll be your protector. I'll be what saves you. If you trust in me, take this vaccine. Trust the research. Trust the numbers. You got people ready to go to war with each other because one reads the news and is convicted, and the other one feels like not as concerned. One has a faith in the Most High. The other one is more so concerned about what Esau is saying. You have all these things, but it's literally just this information and a doctrine that's being taught. Just because there's millions of dollars or a lot of support behind these doctrines doesn't make them any less of still subject to human error, but obviously human intent. What they want people to believe, what they want people to see.
People affected are usually contagious for 3 to 8 days. Babies and people with weak immune systems can spread RSV for up to 4 weeks. There is no vaccine for it, though several candidates are in testing. Who does it affect? Everyone can get RSV, but it causes the most threat to infants, older adults, and other vulnerable people who can get serious airway and lung infections. Among U.S. kids under 5, RSV typically leads to 58,000 hospitalizations and up to 500 deaths in a year. For adults 65 and older, RSV causes 177,000 hospitalizations and 14,000 deaths yearly.
Okay, so those are some stark numbers. Let me pump the brakes. That is a lot of deaths, right? And that's usually what happens yearly. So that with COVID plus, I think they said flu symptoms as well, they're just things that they're constantly concerned about. And it's crazy because so many of these things have already been around, but any little tweak, it's like the Most High can tweak anything as far as a gene, a metagene, something small in these sicknesses, and they become totally different, so much more deadly. But I just want to get a quick scripture, Matthew 24:7. never fails. Anytime that we're talking about things that are going on in the world, you can find a prophecy, you can find somewhere where it's written, you can find somewhere where it's mentioned already in the scriptures, because Christ already told us these are the things to watch. So, like, we go to Matthew 24 just about every time. Look in the scriptures. You already have the answers. We already know what's going to come up. 24:7. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Racial tension never goes anywhere. That never de-escalates. That never is completely eliminated. You know, you have times of where people feel more at ease, and then something sparks everything back up. It says, and there shall be famines. We see the cost of everything is going up. The cost of gas, the cost of living, the cost of food, the cost of goods, everything is going up. And pestilences. Pestilences are sicknesses. These things are increasing in the earth. You have, viruses that are coming out every few years. Now it's more like every few months. Then they're saying that viruses are combining. They're becoming something new. They're, new infections or new strains. Just these things are constantly happening. It says, and earthquakes in diverse places. So you're looking at 14,000 deaths yearly with people who are 65 and older. That's just with RSV, not to mention COVID, not to mention flu, and not to mention if one of the three, two of the three, or all three were to combine and infect a person's lungs. But we just see all these different pestilences that are coming about in the earth and affecting different age groups, different people who are at risk, different symptoms. I mean, it's constant. You take it back to the PowerPoint.
For babies, the struggle to breathe can interfere with eating. And that's really when we start to worry, said Dr. Melanie Ketagua of Texas Children's Hospital in Houston, where more than 40 children have RSV. They're breathing fast, breathing deep. We see them using muscles in their chest to help them breathe. These are kids who are having difficulty taking a bottle because their breathing is being impacted and they can't coordinate both at once. Why is there an increase now? The virus is encountering a highly vulnerable population of babies and children who were sheltered from common bugs during the pandemic lockdowns. Immune systems might not be as prepared to fight the virus as more than 2 years of masking, which offered protection, according to Dr. Elizabeth Mack of the Medical University of South Carolina. South Carolina is drowning in RSV, Mack said in a news release. The surge arrived earlier this year than normal, she said. For babies, their mothers may have not been infected with RSV during pregnancy, which could have given the children some immunity. U.S. health officials have noted a rise this month in national reports of respiratory illnesses, which they say is at least part due to the early spread of the flu in much of the South. Last week, more than 7,000 tests came back positive for RSV, according to the CDC figures. That's more than the previous surges. Is there a treatment? There's no specific treatment. It is a matter of managing symptoms and letting the virus run its course. Doctors may prescribe oral steroids or an inhaler to make breathing easier. In serious cases, patients in the hospital may get oxygen, a breathing tube, or a ventilator. What do doctors recommend? Prevent the spread of viruses by washing hands thoroughly and staying home when you're sick.
I think that's always like
If you're worried your child is having severe breathing problems, do not hesitate to go to the emergency department or call 911. Yeah, you got it.
So it's it's the usual. Try to keep your hands clean. Try to stay out of this. Try to stay out of that. They are concerned about like a triple whammy or a triple pandemic, which is something that's like a bridge that we'll cross when we come to it. But like I said, there's just always a new pestilence that's being developed, always a new disease. It's always something that like month to month that will change drastically or could change drastically. I feel like COVID changed the world. People still are wearing masks. People still are concerned. People still get nervous about, coughing or sneezing. And that for the most part, came out of nowhere. So it just kind of, every time there's one of these pestilences or one of these issues, it just brings back that, is this going to be another one? We're going to touch on Kanye, but we're not going to talk too heavily about him. I believe there's going to be a lesson coming out soon, but obviously it's been so heavily in the news and in the media. It definitely deserves a mention on current events. So there was a number of things that Kanye had that was attacked immediately. So if you don't know, Kanye West recently came out talking about Israel, and he's been doing this for like a couple months, right? He's
been doing it for a couple of years, actually.
A couple years. Oh, all praises. Well, I've been seeing for a couple months where it starts to get, shared and, going viral. He has been mentioning things for quite some time, but he hasn't quite tightened down the way that he has recently. He's been saying things like, the brother, it sounds like he had an interaction initially. We 12 tribes of Judah. He says some things like, okay, someone's talking to him, but he doesn't quite understand. Now that he grew his beard out, he's talking about it. He's standing against the so-called Jewish, or the so-called Jews, the Jewish, and he's making remarks saying they're really not the people of the book. Crazy, because we're the Shemites. We're descendants of Shem. We are the real Jews. And yet, for so much as saying something like that, the world has instantly treated him as a criminal. The world has instantly made it seem like he's crazy. Just all these different things.
He's a villain.
Oh, yeah, instantly. So one of the things was, and I know it wasn't because of a lack of money, Kanye West Donda Academy reportedly closes in Simi Valley amid fallout over anti-Semitic, there goes that term. Anybody else is racist. If you call an Asian a chink, if you call an African, some racist term, you call a black person nigger, say speck, anything, you're racist. If you speak against Jewish, you're instantly anti-Semitic. Like, they have their own terms, their own special classification for when you speak against them. So it's not like everybody else. And it's crazy because you can literally say and do things against everybody else. There have been so many racist judges, police officers, firefighters, people who are in positions of authority that literally deal with life and death. How many doctors have been found to be racist? How many cases of, like, you can look at a doctor's record, right? It's not even hidden. It's common knowledge, like, our people go into hospitals and get different treatment. They view typically Israelite women as more dramatic. They're less likely to get treatment. That's according to statistics. That's not a matter of opinion. There are numbers to support that. When you see things like that happening, it should be as simple as going into medical records, and I'm talking about like HIPAA, I'm talking about like internal affairs. It should be as simple as going into medical records, checking a doctor's his medical records. If you've had 300 black babies delivered and 280 of them experienced complications that were not addressed, does that not constitute calling that doctor racist? You have the information to be able to go after those things. Nothing gets done. No one gets prosecuted. No one gets criminalized. Nobody's making apologies. There are sometimes lawsuits that go forth and malpractice suits that are successful, but oftentimes because they're practicing medicine, they have that to be able to hide behind anytime something goes wrong. But when you make these remarks against the Jewish community, oh, it's a problem. You make remarks, God forbid you cause a death. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know if we've seen any of those kind of reports or any of those kind of instances that cause that type of uproar. But we see so much of that that's happening, and this is where the attention goes. So it says, Kanye West Donda Academy, the private school that he founded, has reportedly closed as the fallout continues following his anti-Semitic remarks, which prompted a number of companies and individuals to speak out against him. That report appears to be based off an email sent to parents. It reads in part, "Dear Donda Academy families, we hope this email finds you well. First, we would like to express our gratitude for the community of families and scholars that Donda Academy brought together. However, at the direction of our founder, Donda Academy will close for the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year effective immediately." So keep in mind, look at how far they're willing to go. We can just read these stories, but I always like to look into things and like read into things. You telling me a senior in high school might be there, right? Because it says, let me see. I would imagine that it covers all grades. That's a good question. But I'm assuming that they're at least seniors, right?
Yeah.
Senior in high school, you getting ready to graduate. They're like, school closed. You can't come back. The work that you put in, hopefully you can find the credits to transfer, find somewhere else to go. You can be able to, and what is it? It's October. School year just started. So people have, they're getting back from their summer breaks, coming right back into school, and it immediately closes because they're like the direction of our founder. You're uprooting people's lives and literally just willing to affect their livelihood so heavily, put so many people in a position to where they have to now go figure it out. And Kanye West is not like no small name. There are a lot of people that I'm sure works hard to be able to get accepted, to get administered, letters of recommendation, blood, sweat, and tears. And it's like, we don't even care about that. The few hundred people that are going to be affected, it is what it is. He spoke against us. It's like, man. And it's an immediate, like, you got an email. You got to figure it out. We close it immediately. It says, news photographer at the scene Thursday morning captured video of the property, which appeared to be deserted. So you also talking about how much of the administration, the jobs, the money that was going out, people that are supporting their family based off of the fact that they're educators, all those things are meaningless in the wake of a so-called anti-Semitic remark. It says the rapper, whose legal name is Yee, took to Instagram late Wednesday night in a post directed towards Ari Emanuel, the CEO of Endeavor Talent Agency, who urged companies to cut ties with him. In the post, he wrote about how he lost $2 billion in one day, but he's still alive. He went on to say the money is not who he is, but it's more about the people. So instantly, that's always the thing that you see. You saw Kendrick came out and did the same thing, right? It's a whole lot of these celebrities that are waking up to the truth. It's a whole lot of celebrities that are, getting past literature, that are being educated, that are doing studies on their own, and it's the same story instantly. If they get to saying the wrong things, they get the pressure put on them. They get isolated. They get cut off. They lose business. Their pockets get hit heavy. You lost $2 billion in one day? What type of pool do you have to be able to cost somebody that type of money and they can't reach you back? And how much of like a conglomeration is there for all of these people to be unified on that? All these companies to cut ties immediately. How many companies come out with racist scandals? Didn't Gucci come out and say he hated black people? Tom Hilfiger said.
It's been a number of fashion companies that have done racist garments that have admitted and pulled back and apologized for that with seemingly no punishment. And it's just amazing how anytime any artist or celebrity of color says that we are the real Jews, they're punished and they're beaten down and they're hitting their pockets to the point where they have to apologize. And we've seen this thing over and over and over and over and over again. And the thing is, they're all saying the same thing. Right. And everything that they're saying is happening to them.
Right.
So it's crazy how this thing is just a perpetual cycle. And so, we saw it coming. You got it. Yeah, it's just like Kanye he hasn't said anything that no one else has said before, and he's suffering the same way that everyone else who has said it before is suffered, right? So there has to be something to it, right? Because if there wasn't any truth to it, then why would there be such a strong hand against making sure these comments are punished, right? Because if it's a lie, then it doesn't matter.
Right, exactly. And was that
you got it.
Con? I was about to say it 100%. Like all these other things, they really not tripping. They come out, they make their little apologies, they get their 15 minutes. People show compassion. That's it. And it's crazy because how many celebrities have come out and done that, got criminalized, and instantly went back on their word, went back on what it was that they were standing on. I mean, we saw Kendrick, right? The damn. I'm an Israelite. Don't call me black no more. Like, he was proud. He was repping. He was strong. And then his next album, years later, totally different vibe. Totally different mentality. Totally different. Like, they got to him. And it happens so commonly with celebrities, and there's so much pressure on them. You know, they're changing people's lives. They're getting people out the hood. They put all that at stake to be able to strive for the truth. And it's crazy because, first and foremost, that shows the persecution that it's not far from us to be under that type of persecution. Right now, no one cares because we're nobodies in the world, right? We don't have that type of recognition and notoriety to be able to walk in a mall and people stop their days to come up and get selfies. We don't have that type of, you know, we're not renowned like that as men amongst the people, at least amongst all of Israel, to where that's the case. But when you are in a position of power like that, oh, it's a problem because people are following you. People are idolizing these celebrities. People are looking at them as leaders. And when they start to do it, they know it's going to be an effect. So they try to mitigate that. So that just makes me think, like, the tribulation is coming, how much stronger we have to be gearing up to be within ourselves, for ourselves, our families, our community. And it brings Sirach chapter 4 and verse 28. It says, strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. The Most High is already saying, look, if this is really what you're doing, and you're really trying to be about this truth, you're really trying to push the word, look at how many of our forefathers and how many prophets have died for the sake of preaching truth and or for the sake of speaking against wickedness. Like the scriptures say, if you die for this, you got the crown. You have that guarantee. You have that golden ticket, so to speak. So it's crazy because Kanye said, I think yesterday or the day before, he said, what did he say? They can kill me, but they can't kill my people, something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
I didn't hear that, but yeah.
I was like, I hope he endures because the brother, you know, he's making a lot of strong statements. You can tell he has the zeal. He might not be as rooted. He said, they going to have to take my life before they take my people. That was really one day ago.
Oh yeah.
God. So and it was an interview that was taken down already.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's crazy. You got it.
Man, nah, go ahead.
You know, I want to bring out a scripture real quick. Let's go to read Revelations. Actually, I'll read it. This is Revelations 2 and 9, right? And it says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you in prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life.
All praises. So it's like the scriptures already said, and he even said, it literally says that ye may be tried. Oftentimes the trial itself is the difficult part. It's the fear. Like, imagine, that makes me think of like Isaac, Abraham walking up the mountain with Isaac, knowing he was going to have to sacrifice him. The Most High didn't really want him to sacrifice his son, but he was like, I'm going to try you. Let me see how much faith, how, you know, to what extent, how obedient. It's all those things. He didn't really require it of him, but it was like, man, I got to try you. So there are a lot of us that are going to be trying. Most High willing, of course, we would all like to be able to have the, you know, an ideal walk or certain preferences, but, you know, that's something that we try to prepare ourselves for because we understand that the scriptures already say it's going to happen to somebody. So it's crazy because this is, you know, what's happening to him. He's being tried. All these things that are closing, and I want to, one more because we're on the subject. All these things that are closing about him, all these things that they're cutting off. Can you switch us over to the PowerPoint? A billionaire no more. Kanye West anti-Semitism, there it is again, not racism, but anti-Semitism, obliterates his net worth as Adidas cuts ties. So I believe the the Adidas was the producer that he collabed with for the Yeezys.
Yeezy. The superstar no longer has a place on the Forbes billionaires list now that his lucrative deal with Adidas is over. Just days ago, the rapper come fashion entrepreneur Kanye West challenged Adidas to drop him following a weeks-long barrage of anti-Semitic remarks made on social media and a national media appearances. I can say anti-Semitic S and Adidas can't drop me, said the rapper who legally now goes by the name Yee on Drinks Champs podcast earlier this month. Yee, who had worked with Adidas since 2013 on his Yeezys line, super expensive, super popular sneakers, thought he was untouchable. After all, Adidas gets an estimated 4% to 8% of its sales from Yeezy products, according to the investment bank Cohen. For Yee, it is an even bigger deal now, accounting for $1.5 billion of his net worth.
So he was like, man, there's no way they're going to do this. There's no way they're going to cut ties. There's no way. But it's crazy because that's what the money is. It's something that they can take. It's all a money game. It's all a numbers game. Oh, he said something, push of a button. $1.5 billion. You would think that they wouldn't even want to cut off that amount of money. And they was like, absolutely not. Or absolutely we will, in an effort to really just show how serious it is. And it's kind of like the Willie Lynch letter. You know, you tar and feather a slave, it keeps the other slaves in line. You cut off somebody's pockets, you cut off their family, you start affecting their livelihood. Other people who were thinking about it start to straighten up and refuse to go down that same route because they don't want the same example made of them.
But Yee's words put the German athletic wear company, with its own Nazi ties dating back to its founders, in the hot seat. What followed was even more escalating pressure on Adidas to sever ties with Yee, as his string of anti-Semitic remarks drew condemnation from the top tiers of Hollywood.
So look at that, right? As Kanye is flaunting his confidence in Adidas, saying, they're not going to drop me. And I didn't post it because we had already talked about Kanye and we already talked about him being dropped through the Forbes article. But there was another article that literally said, the headline was Adidas in the hot seat over relation with Kanye. Right. So now they trying to mention, well, don't. It's crazy. Look at what's being said, because pretty much the agenda is, can't none of y'all get too comfortable, because we'll pull anybody's car. You see how they just slipped that in, right? They like, we gonna mention it. We might not have to highlight it in this article, but you want the next 2 weeks to be about y'all Nazi ties? You need to cut him off. Well, we could lose this 1.5 billion, or we could start to lose it all. All right, we'll lose him. It says, but Yee's words, and look at that, put the German athletic wear company with its own Nazi ties dating back to its founders in the hot seat. And I was about to say, they mentioned that, and I didn't, like, that's something you didn't even know.
Not only that, but like how many of these Fortune 500 companies have Nazi ties?
Right. But no, it's not all of them is important, because everybody else kissing the ring.
Right.
Everybody else falling in line,
right.
Everybody else staying in the way that they need to. But because Adidas was like, man, that's a lot of money that we about to lose, they like, you? Don't y'all have Nazi ties? Do you want the world to know that, you know, Whoopie Whoop and did this and how y'all came to be? Yeah, I think y'all need to go ahead and cut him off. And they agreed to do it, and that was the headline. The media was eating it up. Everybody's posting and sharing. And it's crazy because some people mock, some people glorify it. You know how Israel is, man. Everybody got an opinion. Everybody has a statement. That's actually something we're going to talk about later in this, just the amount of information that's taken as like law through social media.
Right.
But
I think it was like 2 weeks ago. It was Kanye who was talking about trying to get out of his Adidas contract because the contract was trash. He wasn't happy with it.
That's crazy.
But you know, the important thing that's put out there is Yee's downfall, right?
Right.
That's the narrative that has to be pushed. That's the narrative that has to be at the forefront. His devastating downfall, his loss of billions from the anti-Semitic marks that he makes. Oh, yeah. Let this be a lesson to anyone else who dares make anti-Semitic marks we will destroy you.
It's a message, 100%.
For weeks, Adidas has stayed silent except to say on October 6th that their partnership with Ye was under review. The pressure ratcheted up on Adidas after an image was released over the weekend of a banner draped over the Los Angeles highway overpass reading, "Kanye was right about the Jews," accompanied by a group of white supremacists giving the Nazi salute to the drivers below. The white supremacists were apparently referring to Ye's DEFCON 3 on Jewish people tweet that got his Twitter account locked, and other anti-Semitic marks that got him blocked on Instagram, and thousands upon thousands of social media users chorused for Adidas to also drop Ye. Today, Tuesday, October 25th, Adidas finally broke its silence and ended the relationship, the moves that cost them big, but Ye even more, immediately knocking him out of the billionaire ranks.
It's crazy. And the crazy part about it is, like, they highlight this. It's like 5 people on an overpass saying Ye was right, a couple of scriptures. I know Revelation 3 and 9 was there. Pretty soon that's going to be hate speech, right?
Right.
They got the Nazi salute. They're like, look, it's a Nazi thing. First of all, those are white men talking about what Kanye is talking about. Completely unrelated. It ain't like he knows who's out there.
And not only that, but even these white supremacist groups are pretty much allowed to be and do whatever it is that they want.
Right.
Right? Like, you don't ever see America, the media, going as hard on these white supremacist groups as you see them go against any, black or brown celebrity who speaks up and says, that we are the Jews. Like, they always come down 100 times harder on us than they do on these white supremacist Nazi groups, which is crazy.
100%, man. Right. All the white power in the photos,
the Klan has never been dismembered. That's right. Like, that's been a known organization for how long now, and there's never any talk or discussion about destroying or ending the Ku Klux Klan. How?
They made a movie about it. They're like, all right, too many people know for us to. It's already in the spotlight. We might as well make it entertainment. What was it called? The Black Klansman.
Yeah.
And which is based off of a true story, but the fact that they took something like that, put it in such public light, made it entertaining, gave it little twists and little interesting parts of the story, so that people are going to be more fascinated by it, and then they turned it into a cash grab. Like, Esau Cole, boy, that man. Kill you and tell your story and be like, man, you want to come learn about this? $15 a ticket. Come one, come all. You can come learn about it. We can't keep it a secret, but we're going to profit off of it. And that's the only thing that influences whether or not it's going to be super popular or kept really quiet. Can you take us back to the PowerPoint? It's crazy because look at this, though, right? DA, Riverside County is dismissing hundreds of cases, due to lack of available courtrooms, not due to lack of available evidence, not because there are no juries, but because there are so many crimes being committed, they can't get everybody in. So they just let like a couple hundred people go. So look at this, though. It says hundreds of cases are being dismissed in Riverside County, including felony offenses. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. Felony. What is categorized as a felony? Felonies are broken down and classified based on how serious the crime committed is. Crimes that typically fall under the category of felony include rape, murder, burglary, arson, and kidnapping. You telling me 200 people, how many? It says in the article right here, actually, to date, over 200 cases countywide have been dismissed. You telling me 200 people or 200 cases including that means because some of them are going to be cases of multiple counts, right? You're accused of 3 counts of murder or 2 counts of this and this. You're accused of, and then you have like those triple where it's like a sexual assault, they kill the victim, then burn the remains. You have so many possibilities with 200 cases, not counts, but cases altogether being dismissed, and some of them include felonies. But they're okay with that. Kanye West comes out and says, we're the real Jews. We're the real children of the book. We're the ones that are suffering the tribulation and the poverty. We are the ones who empathize with the curses in Deuteronomy 28. We're the ones who fit the description. This is our story. He's anti-Semitic. He's wicked. He's has Nazi ties. He loses his contracts. He's losing billions of dollars. He's losing support. They're destroying his life and everything that he's built quickly. But people who are rapists, murderers, arsonists, burglars, kidnappers are being let go because they're like, man, it's just, we just don't have enough time to get to them. I just want to read, I want to read a quick scripture. Matthew chapter 27. Let's start at verse 15.
I'll read it for you.
Con.
Matthew 27:15.
Uh-huh.
Now at that feast, the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner whom they would. And they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Jesus, which is called Christ? For he knew that for the envy they had delivered him.
Uh-huh.
When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, have thou nothing to do with that just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Yahushua.
So it's like you see that same thing. Think about this, right? Kevin Samuels going in on women. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it would be, I do think that there was a certain level of showmanship. I do think that there is a certain level of compassion that can be exercised. But the reality was he was calling a lot of women exactly what it is that they do, which is be delusional. You telling me you're not working, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you're not bringing anything to the table. You think all you have to do is be beautiful. You think that all you have to do is just be present. You're not willing to be a support. This whole, we're not rehab centers for men, but you don't mind a man being a bank. He called out a lot of women, a lot of their preferences, and some, if not majority of the concepts that he was talking about are scriptural. You're talking about a quality, traditional woman. That's the woman that's in the scriptures. For most of the world to claim Christian, a follower of Christ, how is it that so many people are offended at the doctrine of Christ? How is it that so many people are offended at the scriptures? And how is it that so many of these same Christians, they will be in church praying for a homosexual to be delivered? Oh, it's all right, brother. I saw you at the gay club in West Hollywood. You're going to get delivered. You in the streets, you killed a nigga last night. Oh, it's all right, brother. You brought them ties. We going to pray for you to get delivered. All those things are perfectly fine with people. People know it be. Huh?
They in the choir. They lead in the choir.
Oh, man. They lead in the choir. It's people that are, criminals of all different kinds, molesters, pedophiles, people who are known in our communities to be problematic. Most people don't like to call that out. Most people don't even like to address that with their own families. They just continue to allow the damage to be done. They continue to allow for those things to happen because nobody wants to be the one to call them out. But then Kevin Samuels was talking about these things as far as the traditional woman and the woman today. And people not only were like calling for his destruction, but celebrated his death. They did the same thing with Christ, calling for his destruction. They did the same thing with John the Baptist. The crazy part about it is Kevin Samuels didn't even live a true Israelite lifestyle. He wasn't in fringes. He wasn't keeping Sabbaths. I never saw him speak about the Most High and saw him. He would bring up scriptures from time to time, but he wasn't even fully dedicated or fully had the understanding of what the scriptures are bringing out when it talks about, the concepts that he was building off of. And people celebrated his death. With Kanye, people are celebrating. Everybody got their opinion. Everybody got their 2 cents. Everybody has their platform that they're utilizing to express their resentment and
Disdain.
Yeah, disdain for what it is that he's saying and what it is that he's doing, but they're perfectly fine letting rapists and murderers and criminals walk off. That's the people that they're allowing to come into the multitude. We don't have enough time to deal with you, but everybody got time for Kanye.
Right.
Everybody has time for the anti-Semitic remarks. Everybody had time to celebrate Kevin Samuel's death. Everybody had time to come for Kendrick. But they'll release murderers and killers and rapists right amongst us as if that's not like a serious crime. It's crazy. And these aren't even of those that are really striving for righteousness from what I can see. So like I said, just imagine what's going to be coming, because the scriptures, the Most High said, none of these words shall fail. Drop down, let's get verse 23.
Verse 23, and the governor said, why? What evil hath he done?
So he like, well, how y'all going to accuse him? What has he done? He said some things, but why do y'all want this man crucified like this? Go ahead.
But they cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified.
So, but that's what the people are going to call for. So it just blew my mind that we went from Kanye to courts, they just dismissing these cases because it's like, it's just too much work.
It's the same thing then that it is now, right? Nobody's interested in logic. Nobody's interested in reason. Nobody's interested in research or the actual truth. It's all about how they feel, right? They were convicted based on the teachings of Christ that they weren't interested in following, so they wanted this man killed. It's the same thing today.
It's people roll off of opinions over facts. This is making me feel good. This is making me feel bad. I don't like that bad vibe.
Right. I don't want to be told I can't do what I want to do, say what I want to say, think how I want to think.
Crazy. Take us back to the PowerPoint. And now listen to this. It said, according to officials, the dismissed cases involve situations where the DA's office has witnesses ready and a jury trial is the next step, but the Superior Court does not have a judge or courtroom available to hear the case. So everything's ready to go. They got witnesses. You already know that's dangerous. You a witness in the case. You put your life in jeopardy. You like, man, I might really be able to do something. I might really be able to help. I might really be able to bring this person to justice. You put yourself out there. Now they just letting the case walk. Oh, my goodness. It says, thus, judges have chosen to dismiss criminal cases instead of granting the prosecution a continuance until a courtroom becomes available. So instead of, because they have another option. That's the crazy part. They could literally say, okay, we're going to grant you a time extension to be able to deal with these cases and get to them when we are able, because they are judges. Their whole job is to be able to judge matters. And it's not like they're just judging matters for their own benefit. They're getting paid hundreds of thousands. They studied their whole lives to do these things. As opposed to granting a continuance to allow time to pass where they can deal with the cases, they're just choosing to dismiss them altogether. It says, Riverside County's current criminal case backlog is a result of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. So they sitting up here using that as well. There currently is a backlog of more than 2,800 cases. So because of COVID, because of all the things that are happening, and they saying that it's still ongoing, but not really people getting sick like that, they're saying that that's really the cause. So it's just mind-blowing, though. The things that our people are willing to let slide and the things that people will call for your head for. Only a couple more. It says, Korea's exchanged warning shots along sea amid border amid tensions. So the rival Koreas exchanged warning shots along their disputed Western Sea boundary on Monday, their militaries say, amid heightened animosities over North Korea's recent barrage of weapon tests. North Korea's military said its coastal defense units responded by firing 10 rounds of artillery warning shots toward its territorial waters, where naval enemy movement was detected. It accused a South Korean naval ship of intruding into North Korean waters on the pretext of cracking down on an unidentified ship. So, like the scriptures say, we read that earlier, Matthew 24. The wars or actually nation rising against nation. We read about the wars and rumors of wars. You see all these things taking place all the time. The active war that's happening in the Ukraine, these kinds of tensions, they're on the same landmass. If they get it cracking, they're going to get it cracking right there at home. It's a simple, like, I think it's a fence that stops one side from crossing over to the other side. And they have established borders as far as, like, on a map, but it's not like they can actually stop anybody from moving in between country to country without actually firing. So even those kind of things, they've been on the same landmass for so long, but for whatever reason, after all this time, the tensions start to flare. It starts to become something that can't be mitigated or toned down over talks and negotiations, and it leads to war. They're already shooting at each other. It's only a matter of time before somebody presses forward, someone gets hit, someone gets killed, and full-blown war is declared. It says there were no reports of clashes, but the poorly marked sea boundary off the Korean peninsula's west coast is a source of long-running animosities between the Koreas. It's a scene of several bloody inter-Korean naval skirmishes and violence in recent years, including the North's shelling of a South Korean island and its alleged torpedoing of a South Korean Navy ship that killed 50 people in 2010. So they've already been at each other's throats, looking for, the animosity, the beef that never has ended. You're almost 13 years outside of that incident, and those things are still relevant, and more than likely people still calling for the deaths of the other side because of everything that's occurred and continues to occur. So like I said, man, these scriptures are coming to light. We see that every day, all the time, all these different examples of what's happening and how it's happening.
This is good. This is good.
You want to read that?
Yeah. California realtors apologize for role in racist housing. Just before we get into it, right? What is more impactful, right? A celebrity saying that we are the real Jews, or realtors discriminating against people getting housing based on skin color? Let's get into it. This is Sacramento, California. The California Association of Realtors is apologizing for its role in pushing policies, right? These are rules and regulations, pushing policies that drove racial segregation in the state, decades after the group put its money behind a proposition that overturned the state's first fair housing law. During a press conference Friday, leaders of a multiple real estate organizations spoke out about their next steps. Following the association's apology last week, the Realtors Group is now backing a bill that would overturn a law that makes it harder for the state to build affordable housing. The group is partnering with nonprofits focused on expanding home ownership among communities of color. It is also pushed for a law requiring implicit bias training for real estate agents. Where is the real punishment? Right. The damage has already been done.
Right.
This has been a very long time coming, said Derek Luckett, chairman of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. The association has expressed a commitment to expanding intergenerational wealth among black households. It's too late. And they know this. Not only that, the actual realtors, the actual people that are driving these policies are not being punished. There is no punishment for them. This is nothing.
And it's crazy because, like you said, they're not taking that approach with anybody else. And this is, I believe this is more so affecting our people directly, so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos.
Absolutely.
They put policies in place. Somebody had to write it. Somebody had to write it, somebody had to edit it, somebody had to approve it, it had to be put in place, it had to be established, all of which had a racist intent, never was stopped. Company-wide issue, mentality issue, they come out, they apologize, they put money in the public's eyes of what they're planning on doing, but then they have policies, like the scriptures say, framing mischief by a law.
Right.
Sitting up here getting all these things established, but behind closed doors really are doing the exact opposite. And all they got to do is they're like, oh, we're sorry. We're going to figure it out. Right. Okay.
Right. And no, it gets better. The California Association of Realtors is one of the many real estate groups that supported redlining, barriers to affordable housing projects, and other practices of the 20th century that led to more segregated cities across the United States. During the 1930s, the Homeowners Loan Corporation backed by the federal government, created maps that categorize parts of cities into grades based on their purported creditworthiness.
Wow.
The practice, now known as redlining, drove racial segregation and income inequality by preventing residents living in certain neighborhoods from receiving loans. This has had a detrimental effect on brown and black populations to this day. The California Association of Realtors, then known as the California Real Estate Association, paid for a campaign to add an amendment to the state constitution in 1950, forcing the government to get voter approval before spending public money on affordable housing. In more recent decades, the group has supported repealing the amendment. In 1964, the association put its money behind the proposition to invalidate the Rumford Act, a law aimed at protecting people of color from discrimination while they were searching for, let me read that again, right? In 1964, the association put its money behind a proposition to invalidate the Rumford Act, an act aimed at protecting people of color from discrimination while they're searching for a home. Where is the outrage? Where is the outcry?
So they've been doing this for a long time. They true to this, not new to this. 64, they've been racist, putting their money behind trying to discredit, debunk a law that would have protected people of color while from facing discrimination. And then it goes on. It says, in 2020, following the killings of Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, which led to global demonstrations against racism and police violence, the National Association of Realtors apologized for its role in housing discrimination. Real estate groups in cities including St. Louis and Minneapolis have recently followed suit. So they come out every so often. Oh, we're sorry. Yeah, they just apologize. Right. Oh, we're sorry about this. We're sorry about that. They're putting money behind their goals, their vendettas. They're putting money behind these things. This is not like opinion. Forcing our people into high crime rate areas, forcing our people into inhospitable habitations, forcing us to be within certain districts, that it has way more effect on people's everyday lives than telling them that they are the true Jews.
Right.
But where's the outrage? Like we didn't even like, if this was not in the news, if this is not something that we were seeking for and looking for to be able to report on, this is something most people are not even going to hear about. But everybody hearing about Kanye and Adidas.
Right.
Everybody hearing about Kanye and his closing of Donda.
It's Yee.
Yee. Right. Everybody's hearing about all those different things, but no one's even hearing about this. So when you get declined for a loan and you got excellent credit, you like, what happened? They ran my credit 16 times. My credit tanked. Well, they did it on purpose because they're trying to destroy your credit and keep you in a certain place. And how many people are you talking about? The California Association,
right? Not
a city, not a province, for the entire state. You got a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of power and a whole bunch of money putting their goals and their ideals into play and having the political power to really be able to make change, segregating entire cities. Compton, Watts, Hawthorne, L.A., certain parts. You notice how certain parts stay real clean and real beautiful and real nice, and certain parts be gutter and a block makes a difference? That's by design.
It's not just a block, right? If you look at the way that the highways divide the city,
right,
it's clear that the highways, like they've done this here, they did it in Chicago, they've done it all over the country. They use the highways to divide the cities. North of the 10, it's nice, it's beautiful. South of the 10, not so much. That's by design. That's by purpose. Right. Like all these highways, it's clear. Right. It's right. Man. You know, it's all done on purpose. None of this is by happenstance. None of this is by accident. It's all purposely done. The article gets even better if you want to keep reading.
Kai, you got it.
So Otto Katrina, president of the California Association of Realtors, said Friday that its apology follows one by the group's former president in its magazine last year. But this apology is more formal since it's gone through the approval process of the association's board. So because the board has approved this apology, it's more formal and therefore more impactful.
No, they didn't say, but this time we mean it.
Right.
I like, oh my goodness, what's that saying? Pissing on me without having the courtesy to call it rain.
Right.
Like that's really what you going with. Nah, this time we mean it. Like we ran it by everybody and everything, man. We sorry for real.
Right.
My goodness.
For many of our members, this apology reflects the organization that we are today and are continuing to work to foster inclusion and belonging for all of our members and our communities, Katrina said. The National Association of Realtors reported that the home ownership rate for Black Americans is 43% compared to 72% for white Americans. Black homeowners have also reported that the value of their home appraisals increases when they strip away any sign of a Black family living there. I believe we've covered at least 2 articles of past where this is the thing, right? When black people are looking to sell their homes, right?
Oh yeah.
The appraised value goes up dramatically when they remove any sign that Black people live there. And you can't tell me that that's coincidence.
Of
like
course
this
not.
is a thing that has been going on for generations. The damage is already done. These apologies, these reforms, they're not going to have any effect, and these people know this because they know that they've already done the damage. They know that their efforts have come to fruition, right? And so now they're able to give these apologies and these rule change and policies that aren't going to do anything for Black and brown people. It's not going to put us back on equal level, and they know that. That's why at this time they don't have any problem, putting out apologies and reframing policies because they know it's not going to have any meaningful effect.
Right. Houses are well past the $500,000. They're well past the 500,000 mark.
Right.
They're much closer to 600,000-700,000. You see advanced infrastructure. You see buildings coming up like crazy. You see K&B homes, which are small townhouses at that, being in the low $500,000 mark. Everybody who got their house for $60,000, $80,000, $100,000, $135,000. Back when you could have a job at a department store, work a regular 9 to 5, and still support a family of 5,
And be middle class, yeah.
All them people is already in positions.
Right.
It's like at this point, if you have not already some level of generational wealth, it's very, very difficult. I'm not gonna say it's impossible, and the Most High could work out anything. The scriptures say it's nothing for Him to make a poor man rich on the sudden,
Right.
Spiritually, financially, whatever the case may be, and how He sees fit. But for the most part, in most situations, for the average man that you're coming across, it's going to be practically impossible for them to get in that position, because the people who are already in that position, who these laws were written for, have already benefited. They already have their house. They already have their inheritance. They already have multiple properties. They're sitting on 2-3 houses. Yeah, I don't really be over there. I rent that one out. Yeah, I don't really be over there. That's some rental property. This is just income. After I retire, this is how I'm going to survive. Those people are already in positions of power, and the wealth is already within their family because of laws that were set up from so far back to be able to benefit them and be a detriment to us. So now they coming out with these verbal apologies, or even reform. Minimum wage is what, $16.25? A house is like $600,000.
1508. 1608.
1608. How many hours you got to work to make $600,000? The damage is already done, bro. Actually, this is the last one.
Let me read this.
You got it?
This is the last line, right, in this article. An apology is always backward-looking. So it is important to try to correct the damage you did, Lewis said. But the next step is, what are you going to do about it? And that's always the thing, right? What are you going to do about it? What meaningful practices and policies are you going to put in place to correct the damages that have already been done. And the truth of the matter is there's nothing that you can do. There's nothing that you would be, the things that you would have to do, you aren't willing to do. So it's not going to be done. And they know this. You got it.
No, I was going to say, no, 100%. Like, they already know. It's an apology, the words. If it was even sincere, even that would mean something. But you know these companies, it's public relation. They trying to look a certain way. They have to uphold an image. They doing business. They need that business to continue to flow. So they say it's backwards looking. My whole thing is I want to see lower APR percentages come out for so-called people of color.
Right.
Show me some results. Give me some answers. Put out some loan programs that are specifically for. Right. Like give me a crazy low percentage. Give me a qualifying program that most of our people are going to qualify for. Give me a low credit, low APR percentage.
Low down payment.
Right. Give
or
me something.
No down payment.
Give me something.
Actually, they need to just be giving us houses at this point. Like you really need to be.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They
definitely have it. They've had at least a 70-year head start, and they know this, right? Like really, at this point, to right the wrongs, what they would have to do is move out, move into the ghettos, and give their houses away, give their wealth away. And even then, like you're giving up a house, but you know what's in your bank account? What's in your retirement? What's in your stocks and bonds?
I need to see all of it because
Right.
really this is something that our people should have been able to build.
Exactly.
And it's crazy because we know that that's never
gonna happen, bro.
Yeah, so much. Facts.
Come on.
Si-
Right. Absolutely.
Con.
And the knowledge. Yeah, absolutely.
Just for the people online, the sister's saying like our people are already so behind financial literacy wise that even if we were to be given those things, it's unlikely that we would be able to sustain it. And I believe statistically, by the second generation, most families lose 70% of their wealth.
Right.
So our people don't have that financial literacy. Like I believe Monopoly came out in 1902. We didn't start playing Monopoly till recently. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and you still can't get, you know what I'm saying, a whole lot of jakes. I'm gonna keep it respectful. You still can't get a whole lot of jakes. You know what I'm trying to say? To play Monopoly,
Right.
jakes do not be interested in playing Monopoly, and when they do, they're terrible deals.
Right.
I got a railroad. You got a utility. Well, I'll trade you the railroad for the utility and 500. I know you don't know nothing about no money, man. Like, what are you doing? What type of deal is this? The reason why they're in power is because they know how to do business. They're not trying to starve and choke and maybe is it coming out that I've been wronged on the Monopoly board? I'm like, man, if y'all don't learn how to play this game, and I'm being funny because I'm trying to I still want this to be something that's a little more interactive and entertaining, but. Like, man, they financial literacy is just something that they're being taught, something that they're already aware of. It's really going to take for the spirit of the Most High, like how when our people came out of Egypt the first time and the people was just giving us things.
Right.
Just take this, take that, let me bless you the best that I can. That's the only, like, real redemption that I see coming from our people in any way, whether that be salvation, whether that be freedom from oppression, financial literacy, generational wealth. It's going to take for the Most High to literally put the spirit on the heathen, or for the Most High to work things out for us, whether we can see those things unfolding or we're not going to understand how they're going to happen, but just knowing that they will, in order for that to even become possible, because we're so far behind the game.
And I mean, we already know what the truth is, right? We know what we have to do. We know, what this is what we teach about every day, all of our classes. We got to follow these. We got to get back to following these laws, statutes, and commandments so that we can be blessed again. That's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Let's get into this last one.
Khan, this is the last article, and I had to throw this in because it's crazy how much people are trusting, like in the social media, how much they're trusting in information that they're seeing. You see a brother like, man, and it's crazy because I feel like every generation always talks about the inability of the generation below it. Oh man, in our day we had to go to the library and print it out, and we had to do this. These brothers nowadays, they don't even know how to research. They got the computer. And then it's like, it gets even worse because now, brother, you know, most people, not even brothers, we're not talking about anybody here or anybody amongst Israel that I'm aware of, but you mean most young adults, oftentimes they're really not even going to articles and news and reading and gathering information. They go into TikTok. They go into Instagram Reels. They're going to Facebook Watch. They're going to Twitter to find news, reading a headline at most, sharing the article, and that will be the extent of what it takes for someone to believe something. You got all these different people, you know, all these challenges, people losing their lives trying things because it's on social media, the almighty like.
It's interesting, right? Because the way that it's framed, I feel is a little divorced from reality, right? I believe that the reality is that a lot of people, especially under 30, are not as trusting of these national news organizations as people of the past, right? And the fact of the matter is the news that you see on the TV, the local news, the national news, whatever, it's barely news. It's all about pushing an agenda. It's all about pushing a narrative, right? And I feel like people who are 30 or under have realized that and have woken up to that and are understanding that, you know, you can't trust these news outlets any more than you can trust what you see on social media. But that's not the way that they're gonna bring the article out.
Right. Con, we're gonna get to this. Just a couple of the key points. It says adults under 30 are now almost as likely to trust information from social media sites as they are to trust information from national news outlets. And like we say, we do try to report, and I do believe, like, try to be fair journalists, you know, for what it's worth. But, you know, I like to call out, whether it's convenient or inconvenient, that, like, the BS that you see in these articles, the little things that they drop, the little information and tidbits where you see that a narrative and an agenda is being pushed. But it's also, it can be counterproductive and dangerous because anybody can have a social media. Anybody can post. Anybody has a platform. Anybody can go live. Anybody can teach. And you see, like, with all the doctrines that come up in Israel, things that are new, things that really aren't new and have just been recycled, it becomes a problem. Jakes be unsatisfied with true understanding, be unsatisfied with the truth of the scriptures. They want to be the only ones up on some type of esoteric knowledge. Or you ain't up on this. Or you don't understand this. Or you ain't built like this. Or you ain't, or, you know, you're not given this understanding the way that it's been given to me, or, you know, this revelation, or whatever the case may be. You have all those things that get talked about. Jakes, go back and watch old videos from the 90s, whatever era that it gets recycled from, and here comes this new doctrine. And you have so many people being confounded, being led astray, being tossed to and fro, because they're looking at someone who, it'd be a brother 3 months in the truth, got a totally different doctrine. 3 months in the truth. And I'm not saying the Most High can't be dealing with somebody to really reveal something in them in their youth or in their early stages of learning. But brother, like, you just found out you was an Israelite. You don't really need to go seek it. You've been in the world for, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, 40 years. Unlearn all the things that America has taught you before you go trying to seek all this esoteric and incredible knowledge. You need a foundation to build off of. Who builds a building from the top down? Like, it's impossible. You need to start with a foundation, get the milk. Then when you get to that point, then you can get the meat. But you got brothers that be in the truth for a couple months under no leadership, learning off of YouTube from any and everybody, learning righteousness and unrighteousness, and in a couple months they come out with a brand new camp. If you got the zeal and sincerity, and the Most High is with you, all praises. Like the scriptures say, Paul, I believe he said, Paul planted, Apollos watered, or vice versa. Pretty much at the end of the day, it's the Most High that's giving the increase. So for the brothers that really have that zeal and the spirit of the Most High on them, all praises. For the brothers that's doing it out of, being disingenuous and out of making a name, man, read these scriptures, because the scriptures show you about that type of mentality and what it costs people, and people who have lost their lives with that type of ideology. And the scriptures say, seek not to be a judge over the people. So many people want power. Everybody in Israel want power except for the people that have real power. People that have real power and that are wielding that power with responsibility, it'd be difficult. You judging all these matters, you're helping all these people, you're bearing so many burdens. It takes a toll on a man when he's leading with sincerity and with love to be able to deal with all the different types of spirits. You have people coming in that are broken, that the world has chewed up and spit out multiple times. They come into the truth and they come in with gladness, but they have so many things that they have to face within themselves before they're able to really be a part of this, the rising army that we're talking about and that we're supposed to be becoming. So many issues, so many different disorders, what have you. That's a difficult burden. Even Moses was worn out. That was who the Most High was dealing with. Most High was like, look, he can come up here. Can't nobody else come up here. Anybody else come up here, you getting put to death. I speak with Moses plainly. When the people asked to speak, he was like thunder. Boom. And he was like, all right, we'll talk to Moses. Most High was dealing with Moses, and look at, like, I believe his father-in-law, Jethro, was like, hey, you need to appoint other men to be a part of your council and a part of this leadership in a government, because you're going to wear yourself out. That's when I talk about, or when I think about leadership, I think about that. I think about King David going to war with his men, to not just point a finger as a king and say, go out there, risk life and limb. Hopefully you come back to your wife and your kids. He's saying, no, I'm going with you. I'm going to take the risk with you. That's a leader. A lot of Jakes, they don't share that ideology. They don't share that mentality. They're looking to be seen. They're looking to be worshiped. They're looking to be given gifts and to take things from people. And you already taken from people who already don't hardly have nothing.
Right.
Ooh, got off on a little bit of a tangent. Let's go back to the article. It says, in a recent Pew Research Center survey, half of 18 to 29-year-olds in the United States say they have some or a lot of trust in the information they get from social media sites. Just under the 56% who say the same about information from national news organizations, but somewhat below the 62% who say so about information from local news organizations. It says the share of adults under 30 who express at least some trust in information from social media is at its highest level, tied with summer 2019, while the share with trust in national news at its lowest level, tied with last year. Indeed, the 6 percentage point gap between the share of young adults who trust social media sites and the share who trust national news outlets, and the smallest for any age group since the center first asked the question in 2016. So you have a whole lot of people that are looking at these social media sites, and you knew it was bad because even all the news outlets got social media sites. Right. ABC 7, CNN, MSNBC, just about all credible news sites, they have a social media because that's where everybody is. So even they had to adjust to the fact that people are running the social media, but it's so easy for misinformation to spread as well. And so many things that people are able to push, people are able to make people believe, they're able to amass a following. No coincidence that when you get on social media, what are you doing? Follow. You press and follow. Oh, wow, this person has 100,000 followers. They must be valid. You get the blue check. Damn, he got 2 million followers. You literally have people that are hanging on their every word, that are looking at them as idols and as gods, trying to be like them, trend-setting. Tattoos on the face, everybody getting tattoos on the face. A certain type of chain, everybody getting it. Look how popular grills became. You got people losing like their organic limbs and body structure, teeth, whatever the case may be, because they're in pursuit of like grills and all these things that are popular within social media and the so-called stars. So it's just crazy to see how much people are willing to sacrifice because of all the things that they're seeing on social media. It has become a god to so many of our people. And now that's also where they get their information. If somebody goes live and they're right outside of a car accident, okay, I would consider that a trusted news source. But when you see these videos of people putting things together, boy, people be having all kind of understanding. And all of it's going in opposite directions. Some say this is healthy. Some say it's terrible. Some say you do this. Some say you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to sleep like this. Well, really, you only need 3-4 hours of sleep. And this is it. It's like, bro, there's so much information out there with every subject, with any intent, that it's difficult to be able to navigate. And that's why Christ said the truth. Not that there are many truths. There's one truth. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. That's the only thing, man, because there's a whole lot of lies. In order for there to be a distinguishment, there must be evil with the good. Kind. So I hope this was edifying. I hope it's informative. Like I said, I hope it wasn't the fastest, but it was something, informational. We always encourage people to continue to do their research, to prove the things that you're into. That's another big thing that Israel has to do. 1 Thessalonians 5:21, prove all things. So many things just slip by the cracks because they sound good. They sound fascinating, tantalizing. People are easily swayed and wooed into believing things without actually proving it. And that's why Jake say here, even upper echelon leadership, from the top tier to the to the lower tiers of leadership, prove what we're saying. It's literally, even as much as we sit in positions to be able to sway people, we still ain't saying follow me because it's me or whatever the case may be. Yes, there is an element of follow us as we follow Christ, but that does not mean that everything that we do is not up for scrutiny. You're supposed to scrutinize something in order to be able to trust it and understand it. Even the Most High, how many times in the scriptures does the Most High himself say, prove me? Or does he prove himself? When our people were living in wickedness coming out of Egypt, the Most High showed us the curses that were upon Egypt. I will be your God. Put your trust in me. He showed us these things. So even the Most High himself is allowing us to have that. You see Gideon or Jerubbaal right before he went out with the army that the Most High had risen up. He said, look, Father, if you really with me, I'm going to put a piece of fleece by the door. If the fleece is wet and the ground is dry, then he said if the ground is wet and fleece was wet, ground is dry, then ground is wet, fleece was dry. Then he said, I think, on both of them. And the Most High gave it to him every time, like, yes, yeah, I'm dealing with you, absolutely. He was like, all right, all praises. And he went out and they won a great battle. So, the Most High is proving us and has proven himself beyond what we should, be able to question at this point as far as our people are concerned. And as far as whether or not he's really with Israel. So please make sure that with all the information that you're receiving, especially when it's coming from man, that you are proving that information, that you're doing your due diligence to make sure that you're researching and that you're not being led by blind or you yourself being blind.
Pray for discernment, y'all.
Con. So with that, we appreciate everybody who tunes in with us, especially our consistent viewers. Shout out to everybody that's a part of our body, as well as the ones that come in just to support. We appreciate it. Please continue to like and share the videos so that the gospel can spread. And remember to stick to the script. Shalom, Israel.